بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله دائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقال الله تعالى في كتابه المجيد وقوله الحق: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وذلك ومن يعظم شعائر الله فإنها من تقوى القلوب. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 32, reminds us of a very important point which is often lost when performing rituals. That the sha'air of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course sha'air is the plural of sha'ira, which are the signs of God. And we exalt these signs. Right? We exalt them. We go through a process of يعني من يعظم شعائر Allah, that we do ta'zeem of the sha'air of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we'll get to the connection with Imam Hussein in a moment, but because the discussion tonight is Azadari between يعني بين الفوق يعني بين الأفكار والذوق, between thought and experience. But this exaltation of the sha'air of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَإِنَّهَا مِن تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ, it is from the very deep recess of God consciousness which is within the heart. That it is that when we engage in these practices, in the ta'zeem of the sha'air of Allah Azza wa Jal, it comes from somewhere very deep within us. That when we exalt the signs of God, it comes from somewhere very deep within us. إِنَّهَا مِن تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ, right? That, it is something that comes from within. And when we come to the issue of Azadari, of the remembrance of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, in remembering this verse, I often ask myself this question. So I'll ask you and myself the following question: that is it not simply God's mercy, God's rahmah, which allows me to be an Azadar of Hussein? Do we deserve Hussein? Do we have some sort of haqq? Or is it just God's infinite mercy? His infinite mercy that allows us to be the Azadar of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Do we deserve him? Like, close your eyes and ask, do I deserve Hussein? In any relationship that we have, for example, I've been away from home for some time. Inshallah, we'll return tomorrow. I have a family, I have a child, I have a wife, and they make sacrifices. And then you often ask yourself a question, or they may ask, do I deserve them? Do you deserve them? Do you deserve your family? Relationships are built on sacrifice. Relationships are built on love. Relationships are built on the sense of commitment. So what about our relationship with Imam Hussein alayhi salam? Honestly. Can we even compare our relationship to the Imam versus our relationship to our spouse? Or to our father, or to our mother, or to our children? Of course we cannot. So the question that I'll ask then Is Azadari a necessary element of the school of Tashayyu? Is it, or is it something that is not necessary? Is it among the dururiyat of the madhab? The necessary elements that make up Shi'i culture, the culture of Ahlul Bayt, of madhab Ahlul Bayt. In order for us to answer that, we have to again go to the Quran, to Surah Ash-Shura 23, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ذَلِكَ الَّذِي يُبَشِّرُ اللَّهُ عِبَادُهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا صَالِحَاتٍ قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. Right, that first Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives good news to those people that do good deeds. Meaning Jannah, obviously. The bushra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is paradise. Why? Because they did good deeds, they're good people, so on and so forth. Okay. Then he says, I ask you for nothing. Meaning tell them, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ عَجْرًا. That for all of this, think about this. For all of this, for your Islam, for your sacrifices, your amal, your iman, for Jannah. Because this is the bushra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That for all of this I ask for no honorarium from you, the Prophet says, except for you to be devoted to my family. Imagine. Inna Allah, right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَن يَقْتَرِفْ حَسَنَةً نَزِدْ لَهُ فِيهَا حُسْنًا إِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ شَكُورٌ. And whoever does a good deed, Allah makes it, intensifies that good deed. And God is forgiving and merciful. So then the question is, if the ajr of salah, what would the ajr of salah be? Muwadda, the honorarium. What is the ajr of zakat? Muwadda. The ajr of sawm? Muwadda. The ajr of hajj? Muwadda. The ajr of nikah? Muwadda. The ajr of iman? Muwadda. The ajr of Islam is muwadda. The ajr of Jannah is muwadda. And what is Azadari if not muwadda? It is the epitome, the manifestation, the encapsulation of muwadda. This is muwadda. Muwadda is to show love. You're all gathered here because you love. So thus you could say the ajr of Islam is muwadda and the ajr of Islam is the aza of Imam Hussain salamullahi alayhi. Bila shak wa irayb, and this is not khulu, this is a logical statement from the Quran. And thus from this perspective, our mujtahideen tell us, our ulama tell us, that then the remembrance of Imam Hussain, the aza of Abu Abdullah, is certainly from the dururiyat of the madhab. It has to be. If muwadda is the ajr of Islam, then Azadari is the manifestation of muwadda. Its greatest manifestation, its clearest manifestation, its most obvious manifestation from the time of the Ayyimah Tahirin ila yawmina hadha. However, knowing this, how can Aza not be an integral part of our life? The Azadari of Ahlul Bayt. How can this then not be an integral part of what makes us? How can it not be the air that we breathe and the water that we drink? But if that's the case, the same as we speak about Islam, in the same way, is Islam simply a set of ideals, afkar, thoughts, concepts, ideologies? Or is it something beyond that? It is. It has to be. Otherwise, it's just simply information in a book. Thus, we have to move from experience, from theory to experience. And dhawq means to experience. Right? وَكُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ إِنَّمَا تَوَفَّوْنَ أُجُورَكُمْ يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. That every soul shall taste death. ذَائِق, from dhawq. That they will experience it. That it will be not something that we read about in a book. We read about ghamarat al-maut. We read about, no. ذَائِقَةُ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. That every soul will taste it. We will physically experience it. That we will go through a moment where we know for certain that it is true, not in terms of a book or what we have read, but in terms of actual experience. And then, their honorariums, إِنَّمَا تَوَفَّوْنَ أُجُورَكُمْ, all of this shall be honored. Their ajr shall be honored on Yawm al-Qiyamah. We shall give you your honorarium. You will be given it. Again, and then what is the ajr of Yawm al-Qiyamah? إِلَّا بِمُوَدَّعٍ لِمُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ. And the aza of Imam al-Hussein. So thus, even if the ujur, their recompense will be given to them. Their ajr will be given to them on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Now they have tasted death. And then comes the manifestation of the ujur, that all the honorarium, the recompense now arrives. Then naturally the aza of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, if it is done with muwadda, as a manifestation of devotion to the Prophet and his progeny, would then naturally be the crowning moment of Yawm al-Qiyamah. The crowning moment of the mu'min's life. Their most important act, so to speak, in their hayat. But, without tasting the ajr of Islam, which is muwadda and aza, Islam remains confined simply to a book of theories. And that's where now Azadari has to be much, much, much more than simply coming, sitting here and listening to me. Or whoever else it is. Much, 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 much more. If it is the ajr of Islam, Allahu Akbar, which we can say it is because mawadda is the ajr of Islam, then it has to be much more than us sitting and listening to majalis. As much as that is important, a part of the institution, it has to be a lot more than that. It has to be a moment of change. It has to be a moment of reform. It has to be a moment of activism. And that's why the member of Imam al-Hussein has so much hurma. It has so much sanctity, because it is a place of change, a place of reform. Reform not in terms of changing practices, reform in the change of changing our souls. It's that this deep tearing within our hearts for when we hear, the barbaric acts that were done to Imam al-Hussein, that tearing within our hearts becomes a moment of like a spiritual earthquake. It's like an earthquake in the soul, shaking the soul. Pushing it, catapulting it to a moment of reform and change and renewal and tajdeed of one's faith. But all this depends on the level of our heart, because there's two kinds of hearts. There's this ill heart and a healthy heart. If our hearts are not receptive to the message, then we could have the best speakers, the most charismatic speakers, the best khutaba, and it will not make any difference. Sahib al-Asr himself can come and it will make no difference at all, and he could deliver the majlis and the aza and the musibah, and we would leave as if nothing happened. And that is the truth. The truth is That it depends on our own tahara. It depends on our own purity. And sometimes we're in a higher state, sometimes we're in a lower state. Spirituality is like a spring. It's like nafahat ruhiyya. They're like breezes and winds that come over the soul. But nevertheless, to talk about Islam and live Islam in our daily life are two entirely different things. Imagine, we come to the Dhari of Imam Hussein under his Qubba Salamullahi alayhi to experience Azad, to experience that electrical moment, to experience that moment where you close your eyes and your entire life flashes before your eyes. That's dhawq. That's dhawq. We look at South Lebanon, Iran, Bahrain, Sheikh Nimr, Bakan and Nimr, that's dhawq. That's the dhawq of Azadari, no doubt. When he said, Hayhat min adillah, Hayhat min adillah, and what happened to him? He was decapitated. That's the dhawq of Azadari of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. That's what it means. That Islam was not a book to him. It was not a bunch of words on a page. That when he said, down with humiliation, well, what did he get? He got beheaded for it. That's the dhawq of Azadari. When our brothers in the south of Lebanon are going forward and, are protecting the haram of Sayyidah Zainab Salamullahi alayha, and they're having their body parts chopped off, their heads cut off, that's a dhawq of Azadari. And what are they saying? Ya li Tharat al-Hussein. Ya li Tharat al-Hussein. That's dhawq. There's an ustaza in Bahrain by the name of Ustaza Ahlam Khuza'i. May Allah give her a long life and protect her. One of our great sisters and the daughters of Sayyidah Zainab and the Banat of Ali Muhammad in Bahrain. And I remember several years ago when the Bahraini authorities brutally murdered our shabab and our youth when they came out to peacefully request their rights. She stood in front of tanks, in front of heavy weaponry, in front of heavily armed guards, armed men, Bahraini soldiers, against the winds of tyranny. And what did she say? She said, "Qutila man qutil." Imagine, she now starts quoting Dua Nutbah. That's dhawq, my brothers and sisters. That's tasting Azadari. Dua Nutbah is not something high Friday, AC's on, I'm reciting it. No. She's in front of the tanks and she's saying, Qutila man qutil. Uqsiya man uqsa. Killed has been killed, the one who has been killed. Thrown away is the one who has been thrown away. Why? Because for her, Dua Nudba, which is lamentation, which is grief, which is the aza of Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, is coming to life. They can taste it, they experience it, they see it. Is it a coincidence that many words from her speech mimic those of Dua Nudba? No, because she's living Dua Nudba. Against all those odds, speaking to hundreds of people, if not thousands of people. Wallah, it reminded me of Sayyidah Zainab Salamullahi alayha in the court of Ibn Ziyad, in the court of Yazid. La'anahum Allah. It reminded me. What a powerful woman. What powerful courage. What powerful words. And then she says, Allahu Akbar, she says, the youth came out and they opened their chests to bullets and tanks with izzah and karama. And for us, we're a little bit sometimes scared about, what cowards we may be, hypocrites we may be. while our brothers and sisters are being mowed down like animals in the streets. And then she says, Allahumma inna narghabu ilayka fi dawlatin karima. Can you imagine? Thousands of our brothers and sisters standing and saying, Allahumma inna narghabu ilayka fi dawlatin karima tu'izzu biha al-islam wa ahla wa tudhillu biha nifaqa wa ahla wa taj'aluna fiha min du'at ila ta'atik wa qadati ila sabilik wa tarzuqana biha karamat ad-dunya wal akhirah. The kalam of Sahib al-Zaman, praying for a new day to come, for the honor of Islam to be given, the people of honor to be given their position, and the people of hypocrisy and humiliation to be removed. And make us to be among those that call others to your obedience. وَقَادَتِ إِلَى سَبِيلِكَ, and towards your path. And give us a karama and honor in this world and the next world. And she says, Labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. She just kept saying this. And her brothers and sisters were standing there against all odds. And then after Sheikh Ali Salman is in prison, Sheikh Qasim, the musibah continues. This is the dhawq of Azadari. One example of it. These are the banat of Zainab bint Ali. No doubt, the banat of Sayyidah Zahra. This is it. In her full chadar, mashallah, of course. Abaya and chadar. But when the time came and the need was there, she stood and she spoke. And she led her people. While the shuyukh were in prison and so on and so forth. And they still are. Most of the shuyukh are in prison, as we know. Most of our brothers are locked away in jails. Sheikh Ali Salman is still in jail, the head of Wifaq. This is dhawq. And then she writes a letter. And this is, I'm emphasizing on this for the very reason that yes, Azadari is the ajr of Islam. There's no doubt about that. But if it's that important, which it is, and mourning for Imam al-Hussein is no doubt important, and this poetry is important, no doubt. It is. But then what? Ba'ad shunu, they say. What? Hi, we eat our niyaz and go home? Aramti? Put biryani in our mouth like we never seen food before? And drink tea? No, seriously, I'm not being... There's brothers and sisters dying left, right, and center for Azadari to be the followers of Ahlul Bayt being mowed down in the streets. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with us eating, but after that, what? What are we doing? Do we at least go to bed at night in a state of mourning? At the very least, right? The tradition tells us. Do we at least, when we put our head on our pillow, does a tear drop down from our eyes? If it doesn't, then that's a sign of what's going on in our hearts. That's a sign that there's a sickness in our hearts. That's a sign that there's a deep, deep problem within us. Because this is the ummah of the Prophet, the ummah and the banat of Ali ibn Abi Talib salamullahi alayhim, who are dying and thirsty and in such a situation for the struggling for their life, and they are saying, Allahumma inna narghabu ilayka fi dawlatin karima. In peace, with silm, without any violence. That's one way of experiencing Azadari. I mean, dua nudba is what, if not Azadari? It is a dua of Azadari, it's a dua of crying, it's a talking about the musibah of Ali Muhammad. And she's reciting dua nudba in front of Bahraini military tanks, knowing that she could get killed at any moment. But she knew that her Imam is with her. She had the yaqeenan, she had the yaqeen and the certainty that her Imam is there with her, guiding her, blessing her, giving them the hope to live tomorrow, to continue tomorrow. These are ashiqeen of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, of Ahlul Bayt. I mean, to go to that level, have that much faith and yaqeen, you know, I mean, you could easily just go and protect yourself. Imam Khomeini, that's dhawq. That's dhawq. You know, and for your information, Imam Khomeini used to do matam all night. He used to, our teachers tell us that him and Marashi Najafi, when they were young, they used to listen to tapes of matam and do matam. It's not that it's one or the other. No. The matam of an Azadari and recitation of poetry is extremely important. Our Maraja and our scholars, Layla wa Naharan, they listen to the Marathi, to the poetry and the Noha of Ahlul Bayt, and they beat their chests. I have seen them. I've seen Maraja throw their turbans across the room and slap their face. I have seen all this. It's just not one or the other. It's not either I'm this or either I'm this. No. Imam Khomeini was both. But that love for Hussein, that love for Ahlul Bayt, that burning passion and drive translated into a life of profound spirituality and humility, knowing that there are dues owed to God's creation, that some of God's creation is not as privileged as us. Not some. Much of God's creation are not as privileged as we are. And that's where we begin to shift from afkar to dhawq. That's one way of moving from theory to action and experience. And you feel the presence of Imam in your life. You feel it. You experience it. You know he is with you. It's as if he is holding your hand and crying with you. We read into An-Nujba, right? فَلَنْدُبَنَّ نَادِبُونَ وَيُعَجُّ الْعَاجُونَ. We read all of this. And you know, and the weeper shall weep. وَلَيَصُرْخَنَّ صَارِخُونَ. And this one shall scream. This is the Imam. Salamullahi alayhi. Wa ajalallahu ta'ala farajah sharif. But for some, this is reality. For others, it's just something they hear from Mimbar. Maulana comes, ziyarat, they do it, and we go home. These are two different levels, two different maqams, two different states. And when you see the likes of people like Sheikh Bakr, Sheikh Nimr Bakr, Nimr, Allahu Akbar. Or the mother even something more simple, moving from politics to more simple, to other things in our daily life. When you see that water, and a tear rolls down from your eye because you remember the thirst of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. That's dhawq as well. That's experiencing Azadari. Because we're moving from platitudes and pleasantries to reality now, haqa'iq. That some experience has occurred. Real feeling has occurred. Or that mother that teaches her children to always remember their thirsty and starving Imam when they drink water. That's dhawq. That child that does not pick up a cup of water except he says, Assalamu alayka ya Abdullah. That's dhawq. But that requires certain things. That requires ma'rifah. Ma'rifah. Ma'rifatullah, ma'rifatul Nabi, ma'rifatul Hujjah. The knowledge of God, Prophet, and the Hujjah. And I don't think that can always just simply come by, so to speak, finding the most entertaining speaker. This is fiqh. Something much deeper. And our community will never progress until we start getting real. This is a reality. Until we truly realize that the Islam that we have is because of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. That's what Sayyid Sistani told me 3 times. Why? He said, remind your children that when they see you crying and they ask you why, tell them I'm crying because Islam exists because my Imam died. Remind your children about that. Because your children may see you crying, and they should see you crying. So Allah has said many times, many times He has told us this. Just recently He told me. Let your children see you weep. Yeah, they should see you weep. They should see you beat your chest. They should see you engage in these acts of mourning. And then you remind them that Islam would not exist had it not been for Hussein's stand. And then yes, the ahadith, man baka ala al-Hussein wajaba lahu jannah, or so on. There's hadith like that. The one who cries for Imam Hussein is given jannah. No doubt. No doubt. These ahadith are very, very authentic and well known. Bila shak wa rayb. We cannot, this is not from ghulat. There are too many to reject. But what kind of tears are they? What sort of buka are they? And dumu'. Sure, we read Ziyarat Ashura tuhfatun min as-sama. Ziyarat Ashura is a gift from the heaven. No doubt. The students of Shaykh Khoui, Sheikh Muslim Dawari, has written a beautiful book with that title. One of the greatest muhaddithin and scholars of our time, Sheikh Muslim Dawari. Ziyarat Ashura tuhfatun min as-sama. Ziyarat Ashura, a tuhfa, a gift from heaven. Beautiful book. But it requires a revolution of the soul to begin to understand. It requires us to begin to look at one another not in terms of richness or poor, skinny or big or short or tall or black or white. It requires us to look at each other in the eyes as sharing one common thing in this room, and that is our sadness and love for Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. That's it. It requires a revolution. Silmun liman salamakum, harbun liman harabakum. Peace be with the one that has peace with you. Not silmun liman amana bikum, peace with the one who believes in you. No, peace with the one who is at peace with you. Harbun liman harabakum, and we are at war with the one who is at war with you. Ma'adun liman adakum, and an enemy to the one that is your enemy. Not aduan liman la yu'min bikum, that an enemy to the one who doesn't believe in you. No, we don't believe in those ideas. Ahlul Bayt is a gift for humanity. It's not, doesn't, you know, it's about, this all requires reform, ma'rifat. It requires an entire different level of thinking. It requires an entire different level of commitment to Islam, of commitment to learning, of commitment to understanding, of commitment to experiencing the haqaiq and the realities of Islam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'll give you an example of dhawq. Beautiful example. I recently had the honor of taking a group of young students for ziyarah. Many of them had never been before, between the ages of 15 and 16 years old. One of the sisters, she is Lebanese but brought up in Canada. So brought up in a very secular country, you know, so on and so forth, from privilege. I don't believe she has ever performed ziyarah before either. No, this was her first time. Look at this is dhawq of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. We're walking past the haram of Abu Fadl Abbas, going towards Imam. As we pass, she begins to weep. I'm looking at her, she's weeping, she's weeping, she's weeping. And she's like a 15-year-old girl. Not from Iraq, not a scholar, no. And then she faints. She faints from crying. That's dhawq. That's something that comes min taqwa al-qulub. فَإِنَّهَا مِن تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. That it comes from the heart. It comes somewhere so deep within your heart that you can't even control it anymore. That's just the power of the love of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This is dhawq. This is dhawq. This is what experience is. Now imagine that moment. The Arifin, you know, the scholars, the people who know of Ahlul Fadl wal Ilm, they contemplate on one moment in the tragedy of Karbala. Very much so. This is often a moment in which people like Imam Khomeini, Mirza Naini, Ayatollah Mirza Shirazi and others, they say that this is like a moment at which all explosion breaks loose. Hussein is fighting like a lion, from right flank to left flank. Umar ibn Sa'ad then says, مَا رَأَيْتُ رَجُلًا مَكْثُورًا. I do not see a man that is battle-worn. قُتِلَ أَصْحَابَ وَوُلْدَ وَأَهْلِ بَيْتَ. That we've killed his family, we've killed his children, we've killed his companions, we've taken everything from him. Yet the man is fighting like a lion. His infant has been murdered and butchered in his lap. Yet the man is fighting like a lion. Umar ibn Sa'ad says that we've never seen a man like this. That we've taken everything from him. Yet he is continuing to struggle. وَاحْتَقُوكَ مِنْ كُلِّ جِهَاتٍ. And the tradition states, and he's surrounded from every side, as Sahib al-Asr tells us in Nahiya al-Muqaddasa, that they pin you down. The traditions describe the enemies as being profoundly scared, as terror being put into the hearts of the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad. Right? That they start fleeing away from Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Filled with terror, and then those cowards run away, but the group of men now surround the Imam. Khuli, Shimar, wa Muthala. They now are about to do what has never been done before. Zainab alayhi salam, kharajat min al-fustat, the tradition states. She comes out of the tent and she runs. And she says, if only the heavens would collapse to the earth. انتقبت السماء على الأرض. Can you imagine that moment? This is dhawq, brothers. They are surrounding her brother's body. He's laying there on the ground. Khuli, Shimar, Sinan. These are the butchers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. They're stoning him, firing arrows into his mouth. Right? The tradition state, even into his mouth they would fire arrows. Zainab comes out of the tent. This is in Tabari. You read all the books of Sunni and Shia history, right? She comes, she runs out of the tent and she says, Ya Umar ibn Sa'ad, will you allow Hussein to be killed وَأَنْتَ تَنْظُرُ إِلَيْهِ, and you are watching him? Are you going to watch them do the job that they are about to do? Are you going to watch them? Look at the shuja'at of Zainab bint Ali. Allahu Akbar. She ran. Goes right up to the leader of the army. Are you going to watch as they kill my brother? Umar ibn Sa'ad begins to cry. And he turns his face away from her. And then Shimar approaches the body of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, which is already disabled, laying there on the floor. Right? Ramiqan ila sama, as the tradition states, with his head glued to the heavens. Jalisan ala sadri, sitting on his chest. And then the riwayah tells us, وَلَمَّا قَضَى الْحُسَيْنِ, and when Hussein was killed, بَكَّتْ عَلَيْهِ السَّمَوَاتُ السَّبْعُ وَالْأَرَضُونَ السَّبْعُ, that the 7 heavens and the 7 earths begin to cry for him. وَمَا فِيهَا وَمَا بَيْنَهُنَّ, and that which is in it and that which is between it. وَمَنْ يَنْقَلِبُ فِي الْجَنَّةِ وَالنَّارِ, and even heaven and hell begins to cry. That moment when Zainab ran out and she made that supplication is the moment in which it occurred that the universe exploded. Infijar fi samawati wal ard. It's literally an infijar. It's like an explosion. A cosmic explosion occurs. Why? Because of her supplication. If only the heavens would fall to the earth. Can you imagine the one kalima of Zainab bint Ali alayhi salam? Wow. What is the heaviness of the one word of Zainab? That this eruption of sadness is istijaba to the dua of Zainab bint Ali when she came out of her tent, ran towards her brother and said, if only the heavens would fall to the earth now. If only the zilzal would come. Khalas, Yawm al-Qiyamah would arrive. And then we read, وَأَكْشَعَرَتْ لَهُ وَذِلَّةَ الْأَرْشِ, and even the throne begins to shiver from the spilt blood of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Even the throne. This is dhawq, brothers. This is what it means. This is the dhawq of Azadari of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This requires ma'rifah to understand these kalimat. And you know, Imam Khomeini, rahimahullah, said, you know, they would just meditate on this moment. You know, my teachers would say, just this moment. They would sit, they would take their turban off often on the day of Ashura, and they would slap their face with a slipper. Because they understand what it means when we say, kharajat Zainab min al-fustat. They understand. They don't need to go further. Yafhamoon. They understand that Zainab has come out of the tent. Why would she have come out of her tent now? I'll end with a poem. Ya Azadari Hussein. The poem of Zainab bint Ali over the body of her brother. It is often recited in Najaf al-Ashraf on the day of Ashura, where she says, Akhi ya akhi ayyal masa'ib ishtaki. That, oh my brother, what tragedy shall I protest about? Imagine the kalam of Zainab bint Ali, because these are the ayam Zainabiyya now have begun. This is ayam Zainabiyya now. She says, my brother, what shall I protest about? Firaqik am hutuki wa dhilli wa ghurbati. Do I protest about losing you, about losing my own dignity, or my ghurba? Amal thawb masluban. Do I protest about the clothes that were ripped from your body, looted? Amal jism ariya, or the body that has no covering on it. Amal nahar manhura, or the throat that is butchered like an animal. Bisayfin saqila, with a poisoned sword. Amal dhahar marduda, or the back that is shattered. Amal shayb damiya, or the beard that is soaked in its own blood. Amal ra's marfu'a ka badri dajiyya, or do I protest about the head that is lifted up in the darkness of the night? Amal tifl madhbuha, or the baby that is slaughtered. Amal qalb damiya, or the heart that is broken. Amal dam masfuha bi kulli tanawwafa, or the blood that is just pouring out one by, onto the ground of Karbala. Amal rihil manhuba, or all the possessions that are looted and have been taken from us. Amal mahar na'i'a, or the horse that is mourning, that is your horse. This is of course ishara, the ash'ar of Imam Hussein are thaqil here. This is of course an ishara to wanakasuka and jawadik, and they forced you from your horse, and the horse arrived back to you with the saddle upside down, right? And it begins to cry and weigh in front of the khayma of Hussein ibn Ali. This is of course ishara to this. There is of course much marifat in these words. What he's saying here, or the cries of our horse. Do we protest to Allah about that? Amma da'i'at al-faqidat hawasira, or do we protest about all the women that have lost everything? Hawasira, now without our coverings. Amal abid al-sajjad adha mughallilan, or do we protest about the servant Sajjad that is now in chains? Kamithil al-imma yashharanna fi kulli balada, or do we protest now that we have now been taken as female slaves from place to place? There is no wonder that after the kalam of Zainab bint Ali, the heavens and the earth would explode in infijar. They would explode into buka. They would explode into a perpetual state of mourning and tears. For that is the weight of one dua of Zainab bint Ali, salamullahi alayhi, Matam Hussein.